Hi, I'm Laura Rolfe, host of Powered by Franchising and CEO of Mint Franchise Consultants. I'm joined today with our co-host, Kate Rolfe, as well as Wade Brannon, who is the CEO of Pigtails and Crew Cuts. Welcome to the show, Wade.
Thank you. Nice to be with you both.
Nice to be with you as well. So, Kate is newer to franchising. She's been in the franchise industry a little less than a year, and you are on the opposite end of the spectrum. You've been in this for more than 20 years. So, can you give our listeners a little bit of background on you and how you got into franchising?
Yeah, it's been a long run. This one has been 20 years, and the one before was about 20 years too. So I've passed 40. So
Wow.
I'm kind of dating myself. It's been a long, long run, and two companies and a lot of hats being worn with those two companies. In 1984, when I got out of school, I wasn't sure exactly what my path needed to be or was going to be. And I ended up going to work in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, for the first Heavenly Ham Company store that had started there for the original owners. And they had the intention of building it into a franchise business. And I basically started sweeping floors and making ham sandwiches and all the day in and day out stuff. And over time, some folks came along and we partnered up and we ended up buying that concept and moved it up to Atlanta and built it into a decent sized franchise company, which we subsequently sold to Honey Baked Ham after about 20 years. And so I've been in it, like I say, for a little over 40 years now. So I'm kind of dating myself. But once we sold the ham company, I ended up had a few conversations with the lady who had started Pigtails and Crew Cuts here in Atlanta, looking for an idea. She needed a place for her children, and there was nothing in Atlanta like it. And so she, being the very creative type, um, basically built this brand. I mean, she built a concept kind of from nothing, from an idea, and asked me to help her franchise it. And I had a few meetings with her, and it ended up that I ended up buying it from her because she didn't want to keep going with it. She was had young children, as did I, but she didn't want to spend that kind of time building a national brand, and I did, and was ready to get back to it. And so I bought it from her in late 2004 and spent 2005 putting all the systems in place. And 20 years later, we're continuing on. And yeah, so it's kind of two companies, but a lot of different jobs within those two companies.
Well, excellent. So, yeah, definitely you're the person that I would want to be my franchisor if I was looking at a children's haircut type of franchise, because you have experience from two different very successful franchise systems, being 21 years with Pigtails and Crew Cuts. So, tell us how the brand has evolved since you acquired it 21 and a half years ago.
Well, the there was no real national brand and no real awareness of a children's haircut concept. And so we kind of had to create our own market. And um, what we felt like was we wanted to be the best, for lack of a better way of saying it. We wanted to be the go-to brand for children, uh, where parents want to provide the best for their children. Haircuts can be really stressful for children. They're not a lot of fun usually, and we wanted to make it fun. And so what we've done is we've kind of created the concept of a place that's really designed for the children. It's colorful, it's bright, but it's also comfortable for the parents. It's fun. It's kind of the children's place. Um, and what we have found is that, you know, Parents want to provide the best education, the best food, the best health care, even the best clothes, even things as simple as haircuts. Folks want to provide the best for their children. And that's what we're selling is pigtails and crew cuts is the best place for you to take your children to get a haircut.
Well, I wish you existed when I took my son for his first haircut. He's a little bit younger than Kate here, and so I took him to just a quick little strip mall place that was not geared towards children, and he was terrified first of all, and the stylist was not very patient with kids, and I think there was a loud bang of wind or something, and my son just jerked his head to the left, and his hair just went. The stylist cut it like almost through to his scalp. It was a terrible experience it was traumatic for me as a mother. And I
I'm
know it was
sure.
traumatic on my son too, when he was at a young age. So it's nice that you probably hire stylists that are really compassionate and caring and love kids.
Well, that's what we do, and you're exactly right. And I echo that problem. My son, who's now 26, still goes to pigtails and crew cuts, but we didn't have pigtails and crew cuts when he first had his first few haircuts. And so I took him to my barber shop, which was a great men's barber shop, been around in Atlanta for 40 years, but it sent him over the edge. I mean, he had some sensory issues. He didn't handle it well. And it was a very difficult process. And then I found pigtails and crew cuts, went in there, took my son, and I have twin daughters who are about 18 months younger. And I took all of them in there, and they never wanted to leave. And I kind of thought, man, this is something that this kind of works. This is kind of what we were selling in the ham business was the best product we could come up with. And, it was people loved it. And so I kind of thought it's not a dissimilar concept. Yeah, it's a service instead of a product, but we view it as the best, and that's what we're all about. That's the culture we're trying to build within our salons, with our team members, with our franchisees, with my employees at the franchisor level, is we're making this the best that it can possibly be.
And it's clear that you're doing it really well. I mean, it's becoming a very recognizable children's haircut brand. And I'm curious, I mean, you're in almost 25 states. What are some of the factors that have contributed to the success? Does that come from the stylist that you talk about that you've hired, or the time commitment that you've talked about? Where is that really stemming from?
I think, Kate, I think the first bit of credit has to go to our franchisees, and they're nobody wakes up one day and says, I think I want to get in the kids' haircut business. And they just but they're looking for something. They're looking for a business. They're looking to make a change in their life. They're tired of the difficulty of their jobs or whatever. And they discover us, and they become passionate about being the best they can be. So I think the first credit has to go to the franchisees. We've got fantastic operators. They are very involved in their communities. They're very involved in creating relationships with their customers who are also children, the parents and the children, obviously, with their team members, and it's reflected. And that's why people love to come. And then the staff members at the salons, uh, you know, some children don't want to be there. And so it can be difficult. And these hairstylists are working, they're on their feet, but they're passionate about providing the best experience for these children. And that word spreads like wildfire. And so, at the local level, it's great franchisees and it's great employees that they have. Um, and then the other credit would really go to the franchisor staff. My team has one philosophy, and that's if the franchisee is successful, then we will be successful. And Everything is geared towards that. You know, it's not about us hitting our numbers first and then they'll come along. We'll worry about them after we hit our numbers. It's all about franchisee success, and then it flows to us. And, you know, so that success can be defined in a lot of different ways. And we spend a lot of time talking with our franchisees about what is their success measurable. But I think that is probably how we have, you know, if we've built a decent name for ourselves, it's great franchisees, great staff at the local level, and a good team. And, you know, I'm just kind of along for the ride.
I love to hear the recognition that you're giving your franchisees. I mean, that's obviously our client base, and so we care deeply about their success. And you can hear the passion in your voice to really attribute the success of your business to them as well. What makes a good franchisee for Pigtails and Crew Cuts?
I wish I had the exact formula, but
We do
you
too.
know, 41 years now, I don't. So good luck with you. You guys are a little newer at it. If you figure out the secret sauce, let me know. But here's what I believe for Pigtails and Crew Cuts. I love a franchisee who has previously managed people. I love a franchisee who understands what managing people is all about. And if they are good at people skills, if they are friendly, and I know this sounds overly simplistic, but if they are friendly, their customers will want to do business with them. If they are, if their employees, if their team members are happy and excited to be there and passionate and they build a great culture, then they will have success. People will feel that and they will want to come in. So I don't need an accountant. I don't need a bookkeeper. I don't need a marketing genius. I don't need a hair salon owner, you know, with previous experience or something like that. I need people who like people and who like being around people and who uh, want to make customers happy and want to make employees and team members happy. And if you do that, we can give you the other tools. You know, if you've got that piece of the pie, we can give you the other tools that you need. And, you know, and that's what we do. That's what we spend all our time doing, is trying to provide and improve and constantly make those tools better.
Yeah, I mean, even thinking back to my mom sharing about my brother's first haircut, I mean, patience is key. And if you have a stylist that is so frustrated, that patience goes right out the door. And so it's impacting all the way down. I love the way that you're speaking about it. Kind of changing gears a little bit, I'm curious how much the children's hair care industry has changed since you've been in it.
Well, I mean, we used to just run ads and stuff like that. There was no such thing as social media to speak of. So, you know, you can start with that and go from there. But the the industry is evolving daily, and the technology and I'm talking about the haircut industry and the franchise industry as a whole. The technology that's here today that wasn't here yesterday, that's making our jobs as managers so much more efficient and so much more effective. And, you know, and I'm talking about accounting, I'm talking about marketing, I'm talking about tracking KPIs, I'm talking about understanding the inner workings of your operation so much more so. You know, when I first started, we would run a P&L with a 13 column spreadsheet and a pencil. You know, I know there are folks out there that don't know what I'm talking about,
I
but
do.
you know, we didn't have computers, you know, and not when we started in this business, but you know, when I started in the franchise industry, we didn't have that. And the data, the amount of data that you can collect now and learn from is just mind-boggling, and it's just constantly improving and changing, and you almost have to spend so much time sorting through all the vendors of all these fabulous platforms and find the ones that work best for you. You just can't do them all, but Um, I think what we have found is that y- if you are passionate about it, if you are, if you did wake up one day and decide you wanted to be in the children's haircut business, you know, we've got so many tools available to us that it, it's a lot easier now. And it's a pretty easy business model to begin with. Yes, we work through labor challenges just like everybody in today's world. But we've got good ideas on that, and we've got good platforms for that as well.
How do you tackle the labor challenges? Are you addressing that through getting new stylists who are very enthusiastic? Have you other creative solutions?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole wealth of ways to attract and retain. And it's not just attracting. The really important piece is retention. And we do all we can to attract. We try to keep those costs in line. But where the rubber meets the road kind of is the retention piece, I would argue. And I think it's such a challenge in today's world because hairstylists, they work very hard and they can go try ply their trade in a lot of different places. And it's not just about their compensation to them, it's about the intangibles. One of the things we did years ago, we were about to do a national relationship with a charitable organization. And the more we thought about it, we decided that we'd be better served letting local franchisees decide what charitable organizations they wanted to get involved with at the local level. And what they've done is they have involved their team members in making those decisions. And it creates such passion for their jobs and their careers if they have a hand in doing good things for their community. And I know that sounds like a really little thing, but something like that is a great benefit of that is retention of staff. And so, I throw that out as an example, but there are a lot of those types of things. And I think it was a great move. I still love the organization. I wanted to get involved with and do some stuff with them myself, but having it at the local level involves so many more people. We have a salon in Atlanta close to our office that we have stylists go and cut hair at a shelter, and we pay them to do that. So they're not missing hours, they're not getting paid, but they're passionate about it. And they're giving back to their community at the individual level, not just at the store owner level and at the salon level, and it just creates that kind of love of the community and love of the business, we hope.
Well, I love that you do that because we chatted before the show. I spent 25 years working in nonprofit, and cause marketing has so much impact, not only on the good of the organizations that you support as a company, but also it impacts the camaraderie and passion of your team members and makes them very vested in their boss, because they're involved in those decision-making processes. And I can only imagine how impactful that is on those stylists that get to go cut kids' hairs and shelters and make an
I mean, they're not
impact.
all,
Just as one
they don't all
example.
do it, but
Hmm.
that's an example of, how we're trying to conquer the labor challenges of today's world. And
Absolutely.
there are a lot of those, but, you know,
So what do you see? What are your maybe 12 and 3 year vision for pigtails and crew cuts? What do you have planned?
you know, there's not going to be a big turn. We had a great year last year, and we sold a large number of franchises, and almost half of them were to existing owners, which tells me that we've got a model that's really working, that's really effective, that if we can get the right folks and, they can follow the systems and the guidelines, it's a good system. We've got a good business model that fits into a lot of people's lifestyle. And so I think, we're going to kind of keep on keeping on and continue what we're doing. We're going to continue to grow. Hopefully, a lot of our growth will come through internal. But, you said we're in 25 states. There's a whole lot of empty places left that we need to fill in. And so, I think we've just got great long-term potential growth. People love this model in their market. If when people are coming, bringing pigtails to town, people get excited about it, and the word spreads, and it kind of takes off. So we're going to just keep going the same way. We're going to continue to try to do it better. We're going to always try to improve our business model. We're going to always try to improve our technology. We're going to continue to try to do things better every day. What we found, we made it through a recession, we made it through a pandemic. And what we found is we're pretty doggone recession proof. There's a lot of turbulence in today's world right now. There's a lot of noise out there with what's going on and tariffs, and are we going to be affected by that? And we're a service business, and it kind of lends itself to this disruption time. And I think people are going to flock to franchising over the next few years because there are some turbulent, and I'm not taking a political stance, I'm just saying there's some economic turbulence
Sure.
on the horizon, I believe, that is going to lend people to moving on to different industries and getting out of certain jobs and want to be in control of their lives. And I think we're going to get our piece of it because we've got this great model that works pretty well.
Yes, I absolutely agree that there's definitely an increased look at entrepreneurship and business ownership. People are tired of being chained by the golden handcuffs of working for somebody else. We're seeing Gen Zers and millennials not wanting to work in a cubicle. They want to have the ability to change their own future and change the lives of others. And business ownership is they're looking at that with a new lens, particularly with a lot of the funding programs that allow them to be able to get into business if they don't have cash to get into a business and fund it 100%. There's SBA loans, rollover for business startups, lots of different opportunities. So with your vast experience of operating 2 different franchise systems, Wade, I'd love for you to share with our listeners, give them a little bit of advice for anybody who is looking at business ownership. What might you share with them when they're looking at opportunities?
I like the way you qualified that vast experience. You didn't say vast knowledge, which was probably vast is correct, and I think experience is the right word. But I feel very strongly about this because franchising isn't for everybody, is it? So a lot of people can't abide risk and don't want to have risk in their lives, and that's totally fine. I've always felt like I was in charge of my life for the most part, and I found that to be very gratifying. But I think when someone is considering a franchise, I think there's the the there are a lot of steps, but you've got to find an industry or a concept that you would feel passionate about. And I think that passion drives you, but I think you have to go into it knowing that it's not just something that makes you happy. It's going to be hard work. And so in my mind, it needs to be a family decision. I mean, if you're not a single person, if you have a husband and a wife and a family, we got a lot of franchisees that have young children. Obviously, that's how they become interested in a children's based business. They see the need for it. They understand the model. They get it. They're in that position in life. But you got to understand how it's going to affect your life. How much work is it going to be? How much uh, of your time is it going to take? How much are you willing to dedicate to it? Are you, do you possess the skills to do what the franchisor expects you to do? You know, if somebody's asking me to be, you know, a tree service company, I'm not sure I can do that because I don't do heights anymore.
Hmm.
You know, I
Right.
might be able to manage a bunch of people, but I can't, I ain't going up in a tree anymore. And so that doesn't work for me. But there are a lot of things in the world that would cause me to want to look at them. So I think the more you look at, the more educated you become. You've got to understand the economic model. You've got to make sure it works. You need to see enough history. What is your passion? What are you looking to achieve? Um, you know, when I said we talk to franchisees about this a lot, define success to me. Is success a 15-year play and then I'm out and I want to sell it for a bunch of big multiple and I want to develop it as much as I possibly can? Or is it, I want a place to go, I want to be a part of the community, I want to be this or that or this or that? So a definition of success should probably be one of the first things you think about. You know, I'm young, I'm motivated, I'm willing to work, I'm willing, my children are young, this is the time for us to be poor. You know, I can invest this money and really build this model. Or I'm a little older and I'm not willing to take that risk. You know, things like that. I mean, there's just so much you have to think about. But I've also found that once people get all their information, the ones who seem to have the most success in the long run are the ones who can make decisions fairly quickly. Gather your information, study it, understand how it's going to affect your life, make sure everything's right, and then make the decision and go forward full bore. If you can't make decisions, then it's very difficult to make decisions when you're conducting business too. So you know, a lot of things. I just unloaded a lot of stuff on you. Sorry, but
Well, I
those are kind
think,
of my
yeah,
takes.
I think it's definitely important to that while you're investing in a franchise and that so you have a proven business model that you can follow. That's key and important. But opening a franchise or opening an independent business is hard work. You're going to have to pull yourself up by the bootstraps some days and muscle in, and it's going to cost you some money, and it's going to take a little bit of time to grow and become cash flow positive and build a nice income for your family. So planning for that before you make the decision to invest is spot on, I think. And
And
then,
if I may, I kind of
mhm,
glossed over one. If I just to add one
sure.
back into what you were saying, it's you also need to think about who you're going to be doing business with
Yes.
because you're going to have a 10 or a 20-year agreement. You need to make sure the franchisor, it can be a difficult relationship if, when, not if, when things don't always go perfectly, you need to be able to rely on your franchisor and you need to know that they've got your back and that they're going to do whatever they can to help you, give you the best advice, even if you don't always agree. So I always believe that it's important to understand the people aspect of it. So sorry to interject that after
Oh,
you'd already.
no, excellent interjection. So good advice. And then the other thing, quick to make decisions. Those people who drag their feet and drag their feet and drag their feet in making a decision about investing in a franchise, if they can't make decisions, if business ownership is right for them, and they have to keep validating and keep collecting information, they're stuck before the process, and those tend to be the ones that are stuck after they invest as well. So I talk about the 80% rule. So if you're 80% sure you can do this business, because you're never going to be 100%, there's always going to be fear and doubt in making that decision. But 80%, I'd say you're pretty good about moving forward with if it's Pigtails and Crew Cuts or another franchise opportunity, or maybe you decide to stay where you're at or move in a different direction. That's okay. But getting to an answer that's a yes or a no on the decision-making process quickly, I think bodes well for entrepreneurs and the long-term success that they'll have in business.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Are there any other, so if anybody is interested in learning more about franchising with Pigtails and Crew Cuts, obviously you can reach out to Kate or me at mintfranchiseconsultants.com. But Wade, how would they get a hold of your team at Pigtails and Crew Cuts?
We got one of those websites, we got those social media pages, and
Yep.
there. If you can't find us, you're older than I am. Yeah, we're out there, but yeah, pigtailsandcrewcuts.com, and then all the social media stuff as well.
Well, excellent. Any other words of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners today?
No, I think, if they're watching this, they're thinking about it. And I will say, having been in the people ask me, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm in the franchise business. I'm in the franchise support business. And it is the greatest business model in my mind that there is. And I truly, I know that sounds kind of silly, but it truly, to me, is such a fantastic model for people who want to get into business, who have never run a business by themselves. And I, it's, I just love the business model. I mean, I just think having a franchisor in your corner with a proven model is just such a great way to be an entrepreneur.
Well, the launch pad to success is so much shorter and than taking that long runway to starting something from scratch. I mean, it's a pre-built business in a box that if you can follow systems and manage people, look at KPIs, and be the mayor of your town and be able to connect and get along well with others, I think franchising is an excellent business model.
Really agree.
Well, thank you, Wade, so much for being on the Powered by Franchising podcast with us today. Look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your time and for having me. Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right.